Hello, leader. Today, it's the fifth and final episode of a series designed specifically to help you get back to basics for leading the people who form your team. Here at Stacking Your Team, every day is a school day, and right now, as you tune into the series, think of it as going back to summer school. Get ready to learn, take notes, and then apply what you've learned directly into your business so that you can be a more effective leader. Today's topic, back to basics, how to onboard a new team member. Now, this episode is longer than normal, so you might want to save this one for a time where you can listen to it in one binge, but I'll leave that up to you because we're covering everything from before the new person arrives for day one right through to their first 30 days. We'll also talk about the signs and symptoms of right fit or not a fit. Now, hiring is scary and it's a project. And I know that there are many worries that run around in your head every time you need to hire. So I'm here to help you feel much more comfortable doing it because you've got effective and repeatable processes that become internal business assets that you'll rely on every year as your business grows. Let's get you and your team out of the mode of mediocre onboarding that leads your new hire to question if they made the right decision or not by accepting your job offer, and instead offer them a world-class experience for every person who joins your team. Oh, and by the way, this episode is an actual audio of a training, and it will give you a peek into the kind of trainings that are available to you and your team when you join the Leadership Lab, in addition to live coaching sessions with me. Welcome to the Stacking Your Team podcast. If you are a woman who owns a small business and you'd like to learn how to lead your team so they don't need you to hold their hand, you are in the right place. I'm your host, Shelli Warren. I've led winning teams in retail, innovative technical teams at a Fortune 50 corporation, and coached many remote teams to win at work. And in case you're wondering, no one escapes team troubles, including me. You already know that the people side of running your business can be tough. I'm here to help. So let's jump into today's episode with a little reminder that the team that got you here may not be the team that will get you there. Hello, and welcome back to another training with me, Shelli Warren, your host of the Stacking Your Team podcast, and of course, your coach, your team and leadership advisor here at Stacking Your Team. This particular training is all about onboarding. And what's all the hype about it? Why is it such a big deal? And why should you be embracing the fact that it is really a big deal? We're going to go through this training and we're going to walk through what it means to be able to provide world-class onboarding for you. You do not need to be a corporation. A small business can do just as great of a job that a big corporation would do. And I'm also going to convince you that if you do a great job of your onboarding processes, it will reduce your team turnover. It really will. So here's what's going to happen, right? So this is what we're going to talk about today. Why onboarding even matters. Why can't we just hire people and have them follow us around and figure it out? What your role is in the onboarding experience and how to get your team involved. And what I mean by how to get your team involved is it doesn't matter how big your team is or how small your team is. I want to encourage you to get other people that are already working alongside you. We want to get those people involved in onboarding the next people that are coming in. And then we're going to talk about how to make it memorable for all the right reasons, because I'm sure you have some awful experiences of joining a company or joining a team and not feeling welcomed. And then on the flip side, you've had some really wonderful experiences where you joined something or joined a company, a committee, whatever the opportunity was for you. You had a great experience with that. And those are the memories that we're going to pull on today and make sure that every person that's joining your small business has a very memorable onboarding experience that they walk through, and it helped them to really feel like they made a great decision in accepting your job offer. So before we start, I just want to acknowledge the fact that hiring is scary on many, many levels.
You could be worried about, can I afford to pay them? Is this person going to work out? Is this person going to cause a disruption in my business? Like either a negative disruption or positive disruption. And are we going to be ready for it? Will this person get along with my current team? All of those worries are very valid. And yet at the same time, you know that as your business has grown, you cannot do it yourself. And you cannot, if it's continuing to grow, you can't do it with the team that you have right now. You've got to just keep growing that team. But we want to do it thoughtfully. We want to have a strategy around it, and we want to have a plan for it. And part of that plan is having a great onboarding experience, because you know that you need a team, but not just any team, right? You want to be very, very strategic and thoughtful about who comes and joins your team. So you have grown your team, and this is the journey that you went on. Like, you decided who was going to be your next new hire. And that comes down to which role you needed to fill. Sometimes you need to double up on a role. Sometimes you're literally redeploying some of the work that was in this role. You're going to move that off into a different role, and now you need somebody to come in to do that. So it's really about deciding who is going to be the next person that comes and joins your team. So then we need to go out and attract them. And then once we've attracted them and we've gone through an interviewing process and all the things I also love to talk about, we now are selecting your best candidate. So you've had a number of people applied, and we want to make sure that you're choosing the best person, the next best person to come and join your team. And then we need to offer them an onboarding experience. It cannot be mediocre. It's got to be something that's memorable, and that's something that's really helping them hit the ground running and to be able to have an impact right from the get-go. So that's what we're going to talk about today, that onboarding experience, because you want to make sure that you're offering world-class onboarding. Now, you know that I come from the world of retail and corporate. And in both of those work experiences that I've had over the decades, there's a lot of money there. There was a lot of money there. There was an HR department. There was a training department. I had tons of money to spend on bells and whistles and, to make sure that onboarding experiences were incredibly memorable. But I'm here to tell you, you can do the same in your small business, and you don't have to break the bank. You can offer a world-class onboarding experience for every single person that comes and joins your team. You can do it consecutively and consistently. And it's all about saving you time, energy, and money by making sure that when we do a great job of onboarding new people to our team, it actually reduces team turnover. And I'm going to convince you of that by the end of this training. So let's start with the end in mind, right? Each new person, we want to make sure that they're demonstrating throughout their onboarding experience with you and their engagement with you that they're committed to training and ongoing guidance, right? We want to make sure that we're hiring people that are open to learn new things, open to listening, accepting coaching and feedback, and then acting upon it. We're looking for lifelong learners. We're looking for people that have that innate sense of curiosity, that they really do want to learn as much as they can to really add more value to the business. So you're looking for signs of that. So when we've done a great job of onboarding, we can actually start to see the evidence of this, right? Their ability to accept and act upon feedback, that there's an actual cultural fit. We want to make sure that we're going to weave in some activities and some ways to introduce this new person to other people on your team, including clients and customers, so that we're watching them engage with those other people to make sure that they really are a great extension of your brand and that they have enough professionalism and life experience that they're open to interacting with various people in different situations. And then we want to make sure that they're demonstrating the fact that continual improvement of the onboarding plan is their responsibility too, right? We want to make sure that every new person that comes into the company or the small business, or that they're coming in knowing that their experience can help the next person that's coming in behind them. So they need to be open to sharing some feedback, telling you, hey, I love this section of what we're doing today. These activities are really meaningful to me. It's really helping me connect the dots. And then you're also wanting them to say, hey, yesterday when we did that training, it still feels a little janky to me. Can you walk me back through that again? We want to make sure that every new person that's coming into your business really knows that they could help elevate the onboarding experience for the next person by offering you and your team some constructive feedback about how to keep improving that onboarding experience for the next person. Now, I know sometimes onboarding can be scary. So the hiring piece is scary enough. Making the job offer is also scary. And then bringing a new person on can be really scary. And you're so hopeful, right? We're all so hopeful that this person is going to be a winner. But we can also have stories that we tell ourselves. And some of them I hear often from clients is, when we start talking about hiring and onboarding people, they'll say, well, I'm still figuring out how to lead. Like, I'm not a great leader yet. I'm still learning how to lead. How can I lead a new person do this onboarding process if I'm still learning how to lead? Absolutely. You know enough about your business. You know enough about what the intended outcomes are. And you're going to learn here alongside me on how to offer a great onboarding experience. And so you will be able to do this. The next story you might tell yourself is, I don't know how to help a new hire. So oftentimes you're so deep in your business. You're such an incredible, renowned expert in what you do that it feels heavy and daunting. And you'll describe it as going backwards to the core and having to teach those core tasks. Like, it literally feels exhausting. Like, just thinking about it feels exhausting to go backwards to teach the basics to someone. And I'm here to help you figure out how to do that in such a way that it's repeatable and that we can get other team members involved, and that we can get other people, even if they're not on your team, we can get other people involved in helping with that so that you really can not feel so worn out. And then the other thing we want to do is make sure that once you've got a great onboarding process and system set up, that it's repeatable, that we're just going to keep doing it. And we're going to do that in ways that really add to your productivity and the efficiencies of it all. So it doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, I have a new person and now I got to go back. Like, that's not the attitude that I want any of you to have when you think about onboarding. I want you to feel energized by it and confident that you're offering a great onboarding experience, and it's going to be fairly simple for your team and the components that you own to be able to execute and deliver on it. The third one that you might be telling yourself is, we're either too slow or too fast with training. And this is some truth right here. This is some fact. We definitely have people that take an incredibly long time with someone who's joined their company. They're almost like spoon feeding them. And if you have a high performer, nothing is more frustrating than to be spoon fed. And at the same time, we need to find a bit of harmony between spoon feeding someone and having them drink out of a fire hose, right? So that's kind of the two ends of the scale here. We have people that are just like crushingly slow to teach or let go of control of something and hand over the task to a new hire. And then we have people that are coming in there, just do it. Here's the thing, make it happen. Can't wait to see the end of it. Like, do it. Watch these videos, do this training, do this thing. And the people just literally are overwhelmed. So we want to find the sweet spot between spoon feeding them the training, the education, and the practice and the demonstrations, and giving them so much, so fast, so quickly that they literally feel like they're drinking from a fire hose. That's what we need to find, that sweet spot. And the other one I hear often is people say, well, I'm not great at the people stuff, so I don't really think I should be doing this onboarding. Well, I'm here to tell you, you do. And regardless of whether or not you think you're great at the people stuff of having a team, leading a team, welcoming new people onto your team, being involved in setting them up for success, that is part of your role. Whether you are a team leader, whether you're the founder, whether you're the CEO, whether you have a really great impactful leadership role within the business, this is part of what you're getting paid to do. It's to learn how to improve your own capabilities with the people stuff. And I'm here to help you. The other thing we want to make sure that you know is you don't need to do this all alone. Your current team can help. So I know, especially smaller size businesses, those founders and CEOs tend to tell themselves a story that says, I have to do this myself. I have to do it myself. No, you don't have to do it yourself. You can definitely get your current team involved, whether you have one person, two people, or 25. We will get your team involved with owning and delivering and executing on different components of the onboarding plan so that you are offering that world-class experience for every new person that comes and joins your team. So let's go to where it all starts. It actually starts before the person comes on day one. And this is something that often people kind of brush past, or they forget. They forget that the onboarding, that world-class, memorable first moment of truth, starts before the person even shows up for day one. So let's walk through what those activities look like. The first big impactful moment of truth for any new person that's going to join your team is that welcome email. How well, how thoughtful, how caring are you being with that first outreach, with that welcome email? So what we want to do is we want to make sure that within that email, and I don't care how long it is, it's really more about offering clarity and direction and answering all of those questions that are just on that person's mind and they're hoping to get an answer for. So what we want to do is within that email, we want to make sure that we lay out what to expect on day one. We're going to show them an agenda for the day. Here's what we're going to be doing on your first day with us. And you're going to make sure you're including things like meetup details and what to bring. So think back to an experience that you had joining a company. You worried about things like, where am I supposed to park? What time do they open? What time do they close? Do I bring a lunch, or are they taking me out to lunch? Should I bring my own pens and pencils? Do I bring my own laptop? If there's a security situation, how do I get the code to get in the front door? Is someone going to meet me there? If it's a virtual team member joining the company, they have questions too. What video conferencing platform do they use? What's the link? What's the meeting ID? Do I need a password to get in? Who's going to be meeting me there? Who's the first person that I'm going to be interacting with? How are we going to do this onboarding virtually? Is that going to be a terrible experience for me because I'm taking on a remote role? And how am I going to be able to get the help and the coaching and the training virtually? Right. So we want to be able to answer all of those questions that are literally keeping that new team member up at night because they're worried about these details. Now, I do know that there are people out in the world that they're like, oh, details, whatever. I'm just going to show up. And yes, there are people like that. But here's the thing. You're offering a world-class onboarding experience. You're offering clarity from day one. And what we want to do is we want to start holding people accountable for those expected deliverables that come attached to the role that they just accepted. We want to start doing that on day one. And so by outlining all these things in the welcome email, it's evidence for you. Did they read it? Did they read it thoroughly? Did they follow through? Did they bring what I asked them to bring? Did they show up in the right place? Were they on time? All of those things we're wanting to check in on right from the get-go as to whether or not this person is going to be a fit or not. Now, in terms of what to bring, these are things that can really be bothersome to a new hire. So if you need them to bring their health insurance card, put it in there. If they need to bring their next of kin contact information, if you need them to bring, I was going to say phone, but most people are bringing their phone, but think about the things that you want. Their banking information is another one that is often overlooked for day one. We want to make sure that we can set payroll up on day one and get them stopping. We don't want them thinking about how am I going to get paid. We want to close that worry quickly on day one. So think about all the things that we want to make sure that they're bringing to make sure that that very first day feels very effective, very productive, and all of these concerns and worries are taken care of before they even arrive. And then you're also using that email literally as evidence that they're thorough. Especially the people that say, "Oh, I have great attention to detail." Here's a test right here to see if they have great attention to detail. The next thing you're going to do is create the experience, right? So we want to make it memorable for all the right reasons. So let's dive a little bit deeper into what world-class onboarding looks like. So we want to make sure that those activities that are included in this person's onboarding, that they really do reflect the work, right? Don't be like making stuff up as filler projects, filler activities, filler tasks, just because you have this warm body here for you. Oh, great. We've got a new person here and I don't really have a plan together. So I'm going to have them go clean out the stock room. That would not be a world-class onboarding experience for anyone. And that would be an experience that's memorable for all the wrong reasons, right? So let's make sure that there's strategy and thoughtfulness put together into what this onboarding plan is going to look like. Are they going to be doing activities that really do reflect the work that they're going to be getting paid to do? We also want to incorporate peers throughout their experience so that they're not just learning from you or the lead trainer or the person that's sitting beside them. We want to make sure that they're getting a good, like a broad experience of meeting different people that they're going to have different interactions with as they continue throughout their 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, right? It's really about how can we showcase some of our team members so that people really start to feel comfortable with knowing, oh, okay, yeah, he was cool, or wow, she's just like me, or he looks just like me. I feel comfortable already. It's all of those kind of things that we want to make sure that we're calming and then at the same time boosting their confidence about them accepting your job offer. So we want to incorporate peers. We also want those tasks that you're including into that work plan to not feel like a laundry list, which I got to tell you, if there's one complaint that I hear most often from team members, when I ask them about, when I think back to what it was like when you were onboarded, they often will say, that first week or those first 2 weeks, I literally felt like I was just doing someone's to-do list. I felt like they just had a bunch of stuff that they didn't have a chance to do. So they threw it all at me. And it felt like mediocre tasks. Now, I'm not here to say that every role doesn't have mediocre tasks associated with it. I mean, every single one of us has aspects of our role that we might consider mediocre tasks that need to get done. But the thing is, it needs to get done. It needs to get done. But what we want to make sure happening in the onboarding is that you're not taking your to-do list that's been hanging around for months and then just firing that out and calling it part of the onboarding experience. Things need to link, right? So, and we also want to look at the pace of the activity. So we want to make sure that they learn this and that's going to help them do the next thing. And then they master that and that's going to help them do the next thing. And you're weaving through different experiences for them to truly practice, demonstrate, and master each skill so that they feel a sense of accomplishment. And you can witness that accomplishment, or your lead trainer can witness that accomplishment as they move forward. And we also want to make sure that pace has been thought about, right? So we mentioned earlier that you don't want to go so slow that it's crushingly boring. And then at the flip side, we don't want it to be felt so fast, so overwhelming that they're so overwhelmed they literally check out or stall, and it just becomes a terrible experience for everyone. We want to make sure we're weaving in coffee breaks, lunch breaks, which is also a really good way to incorporate your peers, to have your team members be able to come in and take them to coffee, meet them for coffee, take them for lunch, including virtually. It's really all about making sure that there's a nice pace of the onboarding, that it doesn't feel like it's just full on craziness, in that first week. And I know many of you'll say, well, we have a fast-paced work environment here. And people will even put that in their role descriptions, which always kind of gives me a bit of a chuckle, because they'll say, if you're keen to work in a fast-paced work environment, we'd like to meet you. But then there's no context to that. So here's your chance to really spell out the pace, but at the same time, do it in such a way that you're not overwhelming that new person so much that they literally quit on day one or in week one. So let's look at pace, right? You want to make sure that you're looking at pace. Other things you want to make sure you're putting some thought to, if you truly want to offer a world-class onboarding experience, is the onboarding activities, the trainings, whether they're doing evergreen trainings, whether they're doing in-person trainings, whether they actually have a trainer or they have a couple of people that are coming in and teaching different topics. We want to make sure that part of what they're learning is about the mission of the business. We want to make sure that you're reinforcing what it is that you do and who you do it for and why it's so important. Because we want to make sure that that sense of belonging, that sense of, really getting behind the mission of this company, we want to make sure that starts right from the beginning. That's not something that you want to develop at the 6-month mark or on the year anniversary. You want to see that. You want to see that right from the get-go, that they understand what the mission is of the business and that they can get behind it. Other things you want to do is you want to make sure that you're offering more resources other than just what's being shared with them that day. So what I mean by that is you want to be able to have a library of additional curriculum or a Dropbox file that has additional, like, supplemental training and education components that they can leverage when there's a bit of downtime or when the training plan has gotten off the rails, because sometimes that happens. We want to make sure that we can build in some self-sufficiency by offering them additional resources. It could be videos. It could be YouTube channels to watch. It could be podcasts to listen to. It could be Loom videos. It could be articles that you've written, or the team member has written. It could be your LinkedIn company page. It could be connecting with other peers on LinkedIn to see what they're sharing and how they're positioning themselves as a team member. That's a great extension of your brand. It's definitely your website. You want to look at not just your SOPs, so your standards of operations and your workflows. You want to look at what other assets do we have? And they don't have to be beautiful and pretty and packaged up and, ready to win an Academy Award. But do we have other assets that we could put in one place that this new person could go and leverage to really help demonstrate that they're owning their own onboarding and they're really showcasing to you that they're curious and they really want to be able to leverage this time and learn as much as they can. So we also want to offer more clarity, less gray areas. And part of how we do that, right? I call that, like, we don't want to, we want things to be black and white. We don't want these gray zones, because when we have gray zones, especially in terms of decision making or what should I do next? Is this what they want? Is that really what they meant? There's too much speculation involved, and it feels like there's too much guessing going on, which always leads, or most often leads, to errors. And we don't want to have an onboarding experience where the person feels like they're messing up every day because there's not enough clarity or there's not enough direction provided. So having those other resources and having peers involved can really help with that, so that they really do understand, hey, this is what they want of me right now. This is what they mean. And your work plan really is going to provide a ton of clarity for this person. The other one, we talked about this before, it's that not drinking from a fire hose, right? We want to be able to offer them that world-class experience where the pace feels like it was bang on, where they feel like they're winning every day, where they feel like I've learned this today. And then I actually elaborated on it the next day. And by the third day, I felt like I'd mastered it and I was ready to move on to the next thing. That's the experience that you want to have for every new person that's coming and joining the team. So you've heard me talk about having a work plan for your new person that's coming and joining your team. And I want to assure you that I'm not talking about a 5-hour work plan. We don't provide 5-hour work plans for that initial 30 days, 30, 60 days, I would even say. I would not be sharing a 5-hour work plan with anyone within those first couple of months that they're with you. What you would create is a separate work plan for them. So you're going to have a day 1 plan and a week 1 plan. And through that, there's going to be milestones that you're expecting them to hit. Then you're going to move off to the 30, 60, 90 days where you're really starting to lay out, you'll hear me say often, at this point of the onboarding plan, we've expected that you would have been able to master this. Or at this point of your onboarding, we would have expected that you would have been able to fully comprehend that aspect of your role so that we could start to move you towards this next phase of the onboarding. It's really all about looking for evidence that this person is growing. They're still thirsty to learn more, and their competency is obvious. That's what you're really looking for. You're also looking for signs within the work plan itself to be able to weave in moments where you're asking for feedback. What do you feel, what was the easiest thing so far for you to learn and master? What's been the most difficult? Is there anything that you'd like to have more practice on? Is there anything that you're continuing to be curious about? So we've moved past that activity in your onboarding plan. Now we're over here and you've had a couple of weeks to kind of move past that. But I want to give you a moment to think back on that. Is there something that is still unclear for you or that is still of interest to you that you'd like to learn more about? Is there a resource or a tool that we provided that you'd like to enhance or you'd like to leave your stamp on it? So it's really about making sure that you have a plan for them that leads to them to be able to demonstrate to you what their capabilities are during that onboarding. Right? We don't want to offer them an onboarding plan where you've got such high hopes about this person, but you're also saying to yourself, geez, they're doing okay. I'm hoping that by the end of the month that they'll really be knocking my socks off. No, we want people to knock our socks off right from the beginning, and we need to set them up for success to be able to do that. And we do that by offering them a full-on plan all the way through. You're going to have a day 1 plan, a week 1 plan, a work plan that covers off 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And within those work plans, there are set milestone moments. I'm talking drum beats that are built into that work plan where they offer you feedback and you offer them feedback. It's very much a 2-way conversation to really make sure that you're offering them everything they need to be successful. This is also where you're going to fully understand, wait a minute, I need to adjust this work plan. They have not mastered this yet. I need to go back, retrain, offer more practice, offer more demonstrations. It's also a point where you would stop and go, wait a minute, I'm starting to see that Hillary has a really great connection with this person, and everything that Hillary has taught Jeremy has mastered. Stephanie, on the other hand, the things that Stephanie has taught Jeremy, it's still a little bit janky. It's still not quite working out. And Jeremy's expressed the fact that he needs more clarification. He's looking to even build out his own checklist. He's looking to build out his own SOPs because what Stephanie's offering him is not helpful, right? So you've heard me mention before that not everyone is a great trainer, right? You're going to have people on your team that are just incredible at what they do, but that doesn't mean that they're a great trainer. And so we need to look at the full onboarding experience to make sure that we're continually improving it and that we're asking for this type of professional feedback so that you can set this new person up for success and every other new person that's coming into. And that means you've got to really ask the deep questions, listen to what they're trying to tell you, and then make adjustments as you go through. And over time, you will build out an onboarding plan that definitely is repeatable. You can just rinse and repeat it, rinse and repeat it, rinse and repeat it with minor tweaks from different individuals that come in that may have a different learning style or a different competency level. But the whole, like the foundation of what you're offering for your onboarding would stay the same. And that's going to help you save time, energy, and slow down or eliminate that team turnover. This visual, it's separate in your module, but this is you hear me say all the time, hiring is a project. It's one of those projects that most business owners worry about. They can be reluctant to even start it because it's so involved. But man, oh man, this is what we need to have happening. We need to get really good at doing these project plans so that they become incredibly rinse and repeatable and incredibly consistent, that you're providing continuity, right? So we've got people on your team that went through it who can help out the next person that's gone through it. And where you are coming in at specific moments of the onboarding plan, that you're not leading the whole thing, but you're coming in at specific moments. And one of the first moments, the very, very, very most important moment for you to appear in the onboarding experience for every single person that joins your team, I don't care what role they're coming into, is on day one. You need to make an appearance on day one. Literally show up for them. If you're doing it virtually, you need to have a separate call with them. If they're coming to your brick and mortar, you need to be there to greet them as they come in. Ideally, you would take them for lunch or breakfast, or at least host a private conversation with them separate from whatever else is happening. You want to make sure that they are starting to build a connection with you and that you're starting to build a connection with them. I had one of my clients unfortunately get called away to a crisis at a vendor of hers, where she wasn't going to be present at her brick and mortar business on the day that a new hire was joining her team. And so what she did was she literally had her team set up a Zoom call, a mobile Zoom call for her at the airport before she got on a plane. As she's sitting waiting to get called on to be onboarded, she knew, hey, I've got some time here. There will be time for me to have this mobile virtual Zoom call with this new hire. She knew enough. She knew the importance of her showing up with her face, with her voice, full on eye contact, full on 100% focus on this person on day one. She knew the value of it. I'd been harping on it for so long with all my clients that she followed through in a really big way. And it was memorable. It was memorable for the team just to see her set this up and make it happen. And then it was absolutely memorable for that new person that joined. So here's the full-on plan. I want to encourage you to print this out. Some people like to print it out, put it somewhere where they literally highlight or check off as they're moving through, or they have it as part of the project where the team is going in and checking off, or greening, everything, yellowing, putting the red where they're off track for it. Or you could use magnets where you move the magnet along the journey of it. But either way, this is designed to be a visual aid for you and your team to really help reinforce the importance of what you're doing. And then to really help reinforce the importance of creating a system and a flow with your hiring so that it's easier to do over and over and over again and to do it really consistently. So I want to encourage you, make sure you print this off, use it, use the digital version of it, but leverage it for sure. So let's talk about how to involve your team. And we can do this right from the start. We want to start creating some really impactful team members who are moving into that role of being a mentor for others. Now, some of you may have team leaders on your team already. Some of you have built out a leadership team. Some of you are just starting to build a leadership team. Some of you are leadership team members, or you aspire to be a leadership team member. But here's one way where you can get involved with the onboarding of new people in a really big way. So part of your role, regardless of who you are and what position you hold in the business, these are the things that the business and the founder and the CEO are really counting on, right? They're wanting you to be able to demonstrate great communication. This is how we roll here. This is how we talk. This is how we show up for each other. This is how we support each other. This is the language that we use here, right? So you're starting to teach them right from day one that you use the start, stop, continue feedback framework. You're making it incredibly obvious to them that you talk about results. It's just normal to talk about results. It's normal to talk about costs. It's normal to talk about revenue. It's normal to talk about challenges, finding and fixing defects, overcoming challenges, streamlining things. How you talk with this new hire is teaching them from the first day as to what they can expect, and they will start to mimic you in a good way. They're going to start learning the lingo, learning the language, learning the vocabulary, learning the phrases, learning the keywords. They're going to start learning that. And it all starts with having your team come in through different aspects of the onboarding to really demonstrate in their own style how they are part of this team culture that you're building here. The other thing that you're really going to want to build some mentorship in is the whole idea of operations, right? So this is how we run the business. This is why we do things the way we do. Here's our SOPs. Here's our workflows. Here's what we've learned along the way. Here's how we problem solve. Here's how we're continually looking to improve our processes and our systems. Here's, we don't tolerate Band-Aids, vice grips, and broken anything. We want to make sure that things work as they are intended. And this is what we've learned along the way. And, we want to reward people that find and fix defects. We want to reward people that are not tolerating things that don't work as intended. The other, obvious one is we need everyone on the team to role model your values and your culture, right? It can't just be your leadership team interacting with your new hire and they're on, their best behavior during the onboarding. And then once they become really comfortable with this person, they kind of slack off. That's not what you want. You want this new hire to be able to witness every single person on your team and how they are interpreting the core values of the business and the culture that you're trying to develop here. And where they can really get behind it, where they can start to feel like, I feel like I really belong here. I feel like I could fit in here. There's people that look like me here. There's people that have the similar background as I have. And at the same time, there's people that are totally different from me and I'm intrigued by them and I want to learn more about them. And I know that they have a lot to teach me. You're wanting your team members to show up like that for every new person that's coming and joining your team. For sales and service delivery, this is where mentorship becomes such an integral part in the onboarding. You want team members to be able to course correct in such a way that feels helpful, right? So you hear me talk all the time is we want to build coaches, not people who are criticizing. And we want to offer coaching. And how we know whether you're coaching or whether you're criticizing is that coaching always feels helpful. Criticizing always feels hurtful. And you know the difference. You know when you're doing it. You know when you're communicating, whether that was coaching or that was criticizing. And so this is a life skill that you want everyone on your team to also master. And it's very important when you have a new person who's so vulnerable, who can be incredibly emotional, who can have so much self-doubt, who have so many limiting beliefs, who are probably, 15 times a day questioning whether or not this is really going to be the place for me. Should I have accepted this job? Oh my gosh. Do they like me? Is this going to work out? Am I going to add value here? They got a million limiting beliefs that are running through their mind. So how we can add a lot of calm and confidence is when we have team members who can come in and guide them, especially in terms of sales and service delivery. So this is where your experienced people can step in and say, hey, I happened to see your interaction there with that customer. And I love the way you said this to them. I love how you introduced that to them. I loved how you reassured them with this. And it's also a time where they can say, wait, when I first joined here and I was learning this and I had so much that I was trying to remember and do really well, here's how I made sure that I didn't miss a step. Or here's what I do when I'm delivering this, how I bring our SOP to life, or how I'm making my workflow become just incredibly habitual with how I do it with every single client. You're wanting if they're in a sales situation or if they're delivering services, you want to build up some mentors on your team that are going to be focused on helping this new person do really well at those two things, because it's really going to calm them down and give them more confidence to learn the next thing. Compliance and standards is one of those things that, I often hear it as a complaint from team members that there's just a lot of, it's disjointed. So they'll say to me, in the onboarding, they were all about compliance and standards. And then by month 2, I realized that not everyone was following through, that there was some people that seemed to be above it all, that there was a level of favoritism where this person didn't have to follow the standards and compliance because they were there the longest, or they were the top seller, or they had the biggest client roster, right? We don't want that. That goes right. It goes against everything that we're trying to build here in world-class onboarding and to build a world-class business here. So we want to make sure that you're reinforcing with all of your team members before a new person comes. You want to reinforce the expectation that they are going to be incredible mentors for this new person, whether they're directly involved in the training and the onboarding of this person or not. They are going to uphold all your compliance and standards, and they're going to act as reinforcement ambassadors, really, to assure that this new person, that this really is how we roll. It's not lip service. It's not just something that looks fancy on the website. These core values, I know they look really pretty on our website, but we actually live them every day, right? We don't want to have these core values and these standards and looking really pretty and on a wall. And that's all they are. It's just a visual. We want to make sure that it really is truthful. This really is how we work. This is what we do here. And your team can help reinforce all of that and course correct and offer feedback and encouragement to be able to help this new person on board, because they really are part of the whole coaching experience for every new person. So I want to remind you that you don't have to do all of this yourself. You have people on your team. Even if you only have 1 or 2 other people on your team, or if you've got 50 people on your team, we want to make sure that you're setting the expectation of how each person on your team is going to play a role in this person's onboarding to help them succeed. So let's have a look at those work plans. Let's look at day 1 and week 1. So why are we even using work plans? Well, it's such a bonus for people who are starting anything new, that someone had the foresight to put together a work plan for them versus what back in the day we used to call job shadowing. Now, I know sometimes we can add in some job shadowing. It's part of the work plan. Can add in a lot of mobility. It's offers, I love a job shadow where a person actually gets in the vehicle and goes somewhere with a team member, whether they're visiting a partner, a vendor, a client, or a community partner, where they're getting out of the workplace, going with the team member to go and meet, the full extension of what we do here. I love that. I love the job shadowing components where you bring a new person into a meeting, whether it's a client meeting or a team meeting or some sort of a project meeting. You're bringing that person in to observe, to literally watch people in action. You can learn so much by doing those job shadowing activities, but we don't want to have your onboarding feel like, well, just follow me, do what I do. Just follow me around for the day. Don't get in my way, but follow me around for the day. See what I do and then go do that. there's so many gray zones. It's just, that is not a great experience for anyone. So we use a work plan because it offers some predictability for you and the new person. It creates a lot of stability in the sense that you and your extended team know that every single person that comes and joins the team has a plan. This is how we do onboarding here. And that the key components of what you want to offer in your onboarding are covered for every single person that comes. And then you want to have it be as simple as possible. We want it to be rinse and repeatable. We want to be able to add some minor adjustments based on the role that this person is being trained on. But generally speaking, it is a thorough plan that takes them from day 1 to 90 days. That's what you're looking for, with those milestone moments weaved in there where you're looking for evidence of their competency. And you're also weaving in moments for them to be able to share feedback with you and for them to be able to listen to your feedback and act upon it. Because that's really what you're offering is clarity. That work plan is so helpful and reassuring to a new person where they can literally say, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I know what I need to do now. I can see what we're going to be doing on day 1, week 1, week 3, versus what we're going to be doing at the 60-day mark. It also helps people not get too far ahead of themselves, where they're thinking about this and they want to ask you about that. And that's when you can say, yeah, we're going to cover that in month 2. Or, yeah, we're going to cover that in week 8 of the plan. It can help bring them back to focus on what they're supposed to be comprehending and mastering right now. The other thing when you have this work plan is it's a way for you to really gauge their progress throughout. So do we need to adjust the work plan? Do we need to move this set of tasks up sooner to be able to offer them more time to practice it? Or are we introducing this too soon? Should that really be later? If you don't have a plan, if you're just coming in and winging it every day, it's too difficult. You're not doing yourself any favors and you're not doing your new hire any favors. And then of course, we've always got those unforeseen interruptions where literally an emergency happens and your trainer is not able to come to work that day. So who is the backup trainer? Or the activity that you had planned for the day has been derailed because of a major crisis or a sudden priority where now we have to focus on this. And so this needs to go to the wayside. So what is the training backup plan? How can we have this new hire manage their own onboarding for the day? Which is why we want to have those supplemental resources, and we want to have other ways of learning, whether it's videos, Looms, or different mini projects that they can do, where they feel like they really are still learning and they put in a worthwhile day, but they didn't have anyone to really, do any excessive hand-holding with them for the day. So all of that needs to get weaved in to this work plan because it really does offer all of these: predictability, stability, simplicity, and of course, a ton of clarity. So I also want to just, reinforce to you that I know you're hearing me tell you that we need to offer these world-class onboarding experiences for every single person that comes to the team, and that new people that are joining your team are wanting to feel welcomed. They're wanting to feel like they did the right thing by accepting the job offer. But at the same time, they're not expecting you to be perfect. And they really do want to hear your stories about your onboarding, or when I first started here, when I was learning that task, when I finally connected the dots on how to do that thing and how it rolled up into this thing. They want to hear those stories. They want to hear those relatable stories that adds a lot of calm and confidence for them, that they're not dumb, that they really are a great fit for this, that they really can learn, that they really can pull this together and be a success of it. So they're not expecting everything to be perfect, but what they do want to hear are those stories. Other thing they want to learn to be a better leader and to help them be seen as a highly valued team member. So this is where that team mentorship comes in, right? So this is where a team member can come in and say, Jennifer, our CEO, she really is delighted when people do this. Or Jennifer, our CEO, she travels a lot. And so anything that we can do to help make sure that she feels calm and secure and confident that we've got things handled here helps her have a better business trip, helps her secure new business for us. And really, that's what we need her to do. Like, she's out there getting us new business so that we can continue to have these long-term careers. So let's make sure that we're running the operation to the best of our ability when she is traveling. So it's all of those kind of things that we want to really set the tone with our team to make sure that this new person feels that they have genuine people around them that are not robots, and that they're approachable, and that they've got stories to tell, and that they're willing to share those stories and help this person succeed. And they want to do worthwhile work that you hired them to do, right? So we talked about this idea of they want to feel welcome on day one, right? Nothing is worse than coming in on day one, not knowing, where's my workplace? Where's my desk? Do I have a laptop? Do I have my security access set up? Do I have a login password? Have I been given the appropriate access? Not that you're going to give them full on access to everything during their onboarding. You're going to roll that out just in time to match the activities. But they definitely want to come in and have some sort of way of informing them. Here's your desk. Here's your equipment, your devices. Here's your password. Let me help you log in. Here's your agenda for the day. Print it out. Here's your trainers. Here's what we're going to do today. That is so welcoming. It just demonstrates the thoughtfulness that you put into it. And it also helps them, once they look at that agenda and they look at that work plan, that's when they're going to know, okay, I'm not coming here to just be someone's to-do list master. I'm not going to be spending the whole day cleaning out cupboards and stock rooms and organizing electronic files and picking up people's dry cleaning, ordering lunch for everyone, or making PowerPoint slides all day. Even if some of those tasks are part of the person's job, they want to be able to see all of it. They want to be able to see the bigger picture, and they want to be able to have enough juicy tasks and activities to do throughout their onboarding that they really do feel like they're doing worthwhile work and that they're going to be able to have an impact here. So all of that needs to get incorporated into your onboarding plan, the activities, and the way in which you execute that onboarding plan. The other key thing to think about with your onboarding plan is you want to determine long-term fit and look for those signs. And when you see them, do not dismiss them, positive and negative. So when you see the signs that this person is a long-term fit, yes, let's acknowledge that. Let's reinforce that with the individual. Be able to say to the person, I was so impressed with you yesterday. When you came up against that problem, you knew exactly how to go back, find the answer, and take action on it. And you ended up solving the problem yourself. Like, we want to be able to reinforce those moments. We also want to be able to reinforce the moments where they're not on point, right? Where you'd be able to say to that person, hey, yesterday I saw that you were struggling with that. I gave you a few minutes to see if you were going to remember or look down into your resource to look to see where to go to find the answer to that. And that didn't happen. So let me intervene. Let me show you that today. So it's that whole idea where you're looking for signs that they are going to be a long-term fit, so that if it looks like, if over time it's not working out, they're struggling, you're struggling, you've had 1,000,001 conversations with them, you've even readjusted your training plan with them. You've offered more training, more practice, more demonstrations. You've switched out your trainers. You've switched out your style, your methods of teaching, and it's still not working out. That's when we need to be able to release them sooner than later, right? Like, why keep someone on your team? Why keep paying someone? Why keep having someone who's obviously suffering? They're not doing well at this. Let's bless and release them. And have them move on out into that world of work where they can find their next best career opportunity. And at the same time, if you're seeing signs that this person really is a long-term fit, let's keep encouraging them that. let's keep encouraging that. So we want to make that decision throughout the onboarding experience. We don't just wait until the end of 60 days or the end of 90 days or the end of 6 months and say, well, we'll decide then if they're really going to be a long-term fit. No, you need to be deciding that all the way through, and your team can help you with that because they'll have insight too. So I hope this training helped kind of clarify for you what is world-class onboarding. And I hope you're seeing that if you learn how to do this well, if it becomes repeatable, if you're able to do it consistently, it really will reduce the team turnover that you have, because you'll be able to know sooner than later whether this person is a long-term fit or not. You'll be able to really help the individual assure themselves that this is really where they belong and they are going to have a nice long-term career here, and that they really are adding value, and where they'll be looking for other opportunities to add value too. So let's reduce that team turnover right from the get-go. Let's reverse engineer that back to the decisions that you make during onboarding and how you execute that onboarding. And know that if I do a good job of it early on, it really is going to ensure that people are more successful here, because we're not stopping and starting. We're not having a ton of rework. We're not having to make readjustments. We're not having to redeploy items off their work plan because we found out that they're just not a fit for that. So now I need to move those tasks over to someone else. All of those decisions can be made throughout your onboarding. So let's make them upfront, and let's reinforce with this individual that they are a long-term fit for what you have to offer, or they are not. But either way, let's make sure that we're really leveraging the hilt out of your onboarding experience so that it's really going to impact your long-term success, not only for you, but for every person that joins your team. And I will look forward to seeing you in our next training session.
Did you feel the difference between what your onboarding looks and feels like today versus what you could be offering your new hires tomorrow that will help them feel cared for, welcomed, and excited about this new career move that they've just made with you? So let's get our current team members involved in your onboarding. Everything from creating training materials to hosting check-ins to demonstrating tasks to actually teaching and training, so that your processes and hiring systems are super effective and super easily repeatable every time. You know, joining the Leadership Lab could be your very next best step to finally knowing how to lead, so your team turnover settles down. People know exactly what they're being paid to do, and the results you've been wanting your team to deliver actually happens. I've got the tools, frameworks, and coaching experience to help you to stop being disappointed in your team and instead start feeling great about who you hire, who you promote, and who you hand over the reins of your business to, because they're truly capable and happy to commit to bringing your vision alive for your clients and customers. You know, leadership can be exciting, challenging, and lonely at times. So don't go it alone. Let me help you create the team and the leadership structure that you've been craving. So until next time, remember, if you have a dream, you need a team. So let's get stacking yours today.